you go.
Okay, and then I'm going to, let's see, share a graphic that I created. Um, okay, can you all see the graphic I created? Is that
Not,
up? Not yet.
not
Okay,
yet.
so, oh, I have to actually say this screen and share. Okay,
There it is.
okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go on and start talking so that we can cover everything and then answer any questions. So, if I've not met you, I'm Michelle Sandridge. I'm Director of Financial Aid. Um, and why I asked Dr. Nash to call this meeting or this Zoom is so that I could talk to you about the changes that are happening with the big beautiful bill that was passed and the regulations that have to do with um, our student loan aggregate limits and borrowing. Um, you all are a class that I'm a little bit concerned about because you started under old regulations and you're going to get caught right in the middle of everything. And so what I've done with this graphic is um, I've drawn out what the years in the academic or the financial aid years in your program are going to look like. So you started in 25, 26 and you're under the old regulations. What they did was they said to lessen the impact on students is that if you meet certain criteria that you fall into what they call a legacy student. And a legacy student is someone that's in a program of study before June 30 of 2026 and has borrowed a federal loan before July 1st. I think the majority of our PsyD students that start in 2025 fit that. And so it allows you to stay under the old regulations for the published time for a full-time student to complete the program or for 3 years. And so your program is published as it's 5 years, 60 months. So it's 5 financial aid years plus 1 summer because you have internship that falls into 1 final summer. And so I've got 6 financial aid years up here. And so since you won't finish within the 3 years, you fall under the 3-year caveat. So for the next 3 years, you are under old regulations. And then your final 2 financial aid years, you fall under the new regulations. So what I've tried to do is draw out what it would look like for you. And I've given some examples. And so old regulations say, let me have someone else joining. So old regulations say that you can borrow as a PsyD student up to $224,000 total borrowing. That includes your undergrad and your grad, subsidized and unsubsidized loans. But you can also apply for graduate plus loans. Those under old regulations don't count towards any of your borrowing limits. Then when we flip to that 2029, 2030, and then your final summer, you fall under the new regulations, which say, as a professional student, you can borrow $200,000 as graduate or professional student in unsubsidized and graduate plus loans. So they popped in the grad plus in the last few weeks and said, anything you've borrowed as grad plus counts towards that $200,000. So I feel like we need to start making plans for everybody because if you are borrowing grad plus now, and so what I did with these examples, and let me just kind of show you. So the first example I gave was if you only borrow the unsubsidized loans. You didn't borrow for a master's degree anywhere, and you're only borrowing your unsubsidized loans, then you'll be okay. You will borrow, you can borrow your regular unsub, your additional unsub for those years that are under the old regulations. And then when you flip to the new regulations, for that last full year, you could borrow the unsub loan to the max that they're going to let you borrow. And then for your internship year, if you borrow that full 50,000 for that 5th year, then you'd have about, a little over $5,000 to help with that one credit hour of internship and any expenses you have for that last summer. The challenge comes if you are borrowing, if you come to us with no prior borrowing and you're borrowing your regular unsub, your additional unsub, plus you're borrowing grad plus, because then when we finish year 3 of the legacy borrowing, then you will have borrowed $268,000 between unsub and grad plus. So then that year 2029, 2030, and your final internship, I won't be able to offer you any federal loans. And then the last example that I gave, because I've seen some students come to us with some graduate borrowing for a master's degree somewhere else. We have to count that. So this one, I said, if you came to us with $41,000 in unsub loans, but you also borrowed grad plus at another school doing a master's degree, for these 4 years, your first 4 years of your program where you're considered legacy, you can borrow your regular unsub, your additional unsub, and just the regular unsub, your additional unsub, and that prior borrowing is going to put you over the $200,000. So those final 2 financial aid years, I won't be able to offer you any federal loans. You during these years, if you're this student, you could borrow grad plus. But I just wanted to make sure that people could see that if you've got prior borrowing and you're only doing unsub those last 2 years, you're going to run out of funds. So what I think this is going to be, and I meet with a lot of PsyD students every year, and it might be that we just need to sit down and make a plan on what it looks like. Because if you are someone that's going to fall into one of these last 2, where those last 2 years you're not going to have any money, we probably need to talk about, do you want to look at private loans right now and start borrowing private loans now before you have more debt to income? Because private loans are going to do a credit check and they're going to look for things like debt to income, credit scores, and things like that. So if you are going to need private loans, does it make sense to try to do them now before your debt to income is more? If you're someone who does not need the graduate plus loans for living, we could talk about working out budgets and borrowing grad plus now while you can, and saving it to pay for those last 2 years if you're someone that's going to fall, that's going to run out of eligibility because of the new OB3. It's a whole lot, and we are still figuring out on a daily basis the changes that are coming at us. So I don't want someone to get into the 4th year of their program and run out of money, and not have any way to finish it. And so this is why I want to talk to you all. It's a lot. There's 3 of us in the office that are really trying to comb through all of the regulations and figure them out and try to understand them and make sure that we're packaging our students the best that we can.
Michelle, you just said 4th year, but you mean 5th year, right? It's the internship year.
It's going to be, yeah. So here's the challenge. It gets a little bit confusing because I think academically fall starts your all's year. For us, summer starts it. So that the 5th year for them would be, I think a lot of them are still finishing up a practicum, and then they have internship, and then they have a whole nother financial aid year where they have one more internship. So yeah, I'm sorry.
So it would start the issue would start the summer, either before they start internship or as they're starting internship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is also a challenge because students are also planning on moving, and so that's one of the years where they're if they aren't borrowing extra money, or if they haven't borrowed extra money, that's the summer where they're starting to look to borrow extra to help with those moving expenses.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, no, I love the advice of like, go ahead and borrow the money and save it so that you have it when you need it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's I find that PsyD students are budgeters and they do, they're planners, they are smart students and they're looking at all of the things. It's just this is adding a whole nother level of complexity to budgeting to where we've really got to start looking all the way out and not just year by year. That's a lot of stuff. Are there questions from you all, or I mean, I think it's going to be one-on-one questions really because everyone's what people have borrowed is different, what their income is right now is different, where they're coming from, what resources they have to help them. So, I'm happy to answer questions here, or we can set up one-on-one appointments just to map out what your individual, roadmap is going to be. Nothing.
Can I ask like a clarifying question just about
Yes.
like looking at the graphic where it says like only 200,000 unsub as post undergrad, no more grad plus? Does that mean just like no more grad plus no matter how much you've taken out? Or is like, I guess like, is there a cap to how much grad plus you could be taking out now? Like, how's that going to factor in?
Right. Grad Plus is being grandfathered out. Like students that are starting this fall won't have that option. So for the first 4 years, you have access to Graduate Plus, and the limit on that is basically the cost of attendance that we set up each year. So each year you can work with me to borrow the max. You can work with me to borrow just what you need. But starting in 2029, Grad Plus is gone. It won't even be an option.
Thank you.
Which is why you had the recommendation, go ahead and borrow Grad Plus while you can and save it so that you have it for moving in the last year.
Right.
I also, just to clarify, I'm Dr. Nash, Michelle, if you will. I'm attending so that I can tell everyone in the cohort who's not here what to know. So just to make sure that I have it right, um, if you've, like you said, we can save up grad plus until what, internship year, the last year? Okay. So I can tell our cohort that like if you've taken out grad plus loans, we're grandfathered in and that we can just save up our loans until internship.
Yeah, I mean, if you are someone who doesn't have the resources to pay for the move and to do the things and pay for the 1 credit hours of internship, then yes, you're going to want to borrow some Grad Plus ahead of time to pay for those. Um, But I mean, the challenge is going to be some students are borrowing Grad Plus to pay their bills and to live on,
Yeah,
and so those
yeah.
students probably need to come talk to me, and we'll talk about because there is a question in here about the debt to income component. Um,
Yeah.
why I mention that is because private loans, and that's kind of where student borrowing is going to be moving in the future because of Grad Plus going away. Private loans are different than Grad Plus in the fact that Grad Plus did a credit check, but the credit check wasn't looking at all the components that a regular credit check does. Grad Plus was looking at, do you have derogatory marks? Do you have
Hmm.
late bills? When you go to private lending, they're looking at your credit score. They're looking
Hmm.
at your debt to income ratio. So when you apply, you're going to tell them what your income is, and they're probably going to ask you for W-2s to prove that up or taxes to prove that up. And then they're going to run your credit and pull those credit reports to see how much debt you
Hmm.
have. And so if you're someone who is borrowing Grad Plus for living and you get to that fifth year and you're like, okay, now I need to apply for a private loan. If you've got, $300,000 in student loan debt, that's going to come into play on whether you're going to get approved
Hmm.
or not, because they're going to look at what income you have versus that debt. Um, but that also,
Michelle.
will influence your credit score.
Would
Yeah.
that help then for people? to apply once they have their internship income, because folks are going to be going basically from zero income and a lot of debt to, let's say, like $30,000 income and a lot of debt. Would
Yeah,
that make it
it could
better?
help. It could help, yeah.
Okay.
I actually, and I was at a meeting yesterday. One of my private lenders told me what the minimum credit score was for them to approve a loan, and theirs was 670. So I don't know if you know your credit scores, but they are one of the more strict approvers, and they said they go down to 670. Some of the bigger lenders will probably go down a little bit more than that. I'm also looking, I'm trying to think outside the box, and I'm looking at other things to see if there's any way to change the way we do financial aid years, like we stay standard years or borrow base years. We're looking at other options to see if there's ways to help with this. I just need you to know this is where we are right now. Um, will things change next year? Maybe, I don't know. The Graduate Plus was that was a big bomb that got dropped on the financial aid world, and it's no one expected that. So
There's any ray of hope, and this is unrelated to borrowing, but the Health Resource Service Administration, HRSA, is going to re-release their scholarship for disadvantaged students, which is shocking.
yeah.
It's supposed to be, applications are supposed to open, I think, this weekend. Steve Katsikas is going to take the lead on applying for that, because he's the one who has written for it before. When we had that before, I think it was like 70% of our students got 50% of their tuition paid for.
Yeah.
And so it is a huge, huge scholarship. And so if we are able to get that, and I think we would know like end of August, that would be such a help, because you could still borrow and save for that last year, right? But then also borrow less
Yeah.
at the same time. So fingers crossed, and whatever other rituals folks can do
Well,
to
and
help
I'll
us get
tell you,
that.
any outside scholarships that I know of that I think our students should look at, I send out through the all student email. So if you're getting emails from me, you want to make sure you're opening them up just to see what they are. I know there's and I think they're all closed now, but Community Foundation of Louisville is one that I send out every single year. Every student should apply for Community Foundation of Louisville, because that scholarship, they do over 80 scholarships, and you don't have to be from Louisville. You don't have to live in Louisville. You go to school in Louisville. So you do one application, and it's going to pair you in the running for any scholarships that you might qualify for out of those 80 plus scholarships. And we see a lot of students get money from them every year. The other one that I push out hard is for it's Kentucky females going into like a healthcare, or PsyD falls into that. It's the Sarah Parks Pendleton. That one either just closed or it's closing this week. And so if you are, someone that fits that Kentucky female, you're going to want to apply for that scholarship too, because those are good sources. And then, like I said, if I find other ones, I'm going to send them out through the all student email, because I can help, find them. I can't get them for you.
And then there's also the HPSP, both with the military, but also the VA. And so if folks are thinking that they might want a career in the VA, the way the or the military, the way the HPSP works is, I think they pay for tuition. And I think however many years of tuition they pay for, I think you have to work a year and a half. So like if they pay for 2 years of tuition, then you have to work for the VA for 3 years or else pay it back. And we've had 4 or 5 students get military HPSP scholarships, and I think 2 students have gotten the VA. One, I think, essentially got a free ride, got it very early on. So if you're interested in either of those, yeah, take a look at that too.
And another, let's see.
The Scholarship for Disadvantaged Students, Amanda, is a federal grant that we will be writing for, that we will know probably in late August if we get it or not. So that's not anything to apply for at this point.
Yeah, and then the Community Foundation of Louisville, that is an outside scholarship that has closed. I sent that out a couple times. I started sending it out before Christmas, but that closes like early March. So for the upcoming year, that's closed. But every year I send it out, so make sure that you're watching for it next year.
And that usually opens like when-ish?
It's usually around December 1st.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'll keep Dr. Nash updated on, any changes that we find. And, like I said, I'm trying to think outside the box to find ways to make this a little bit better or more manageable.
We so appreciate that, Michelle. Like, I know, like, this is not happening in every doctoral program in the United States, right? Like, you are going above and beyond to try to make sure people are informed, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and anything you all hear, because I know there's stuff hitting the news, and some of it's on spot, and some of it is to create panic. So anything you hear, if you have questions, please come to me and let me help you, sift through it and make sure that you're on the right path.
Purely theoretical, but could Grad Plus possibly come back with a new administration?
I don't think so. I think, and this is Michelle's personal opinion, I think that because of the student loan crisis, they've been looking at ways to fix it. And in my opinion, Grad Plus was not the problem. And so they cut the wrong program, but I don't think so. If they do anything with the next administration, I think that they would probably look at loan limits, and things of that nature, but I don't think Grad Plus will come back.
And from what I've heard, and I don't know if your sources say the same thing, it's less like the overarching administration and it's more Congress. Like, Congress is the one really, really pushing on the federal loan crisis. And so it's not just a change of president, but it's also going to require getting new people in Congress too. So there's your plug for voting in all elections.
Voting, reach out to your representatives, let them know, the impact you're having, anything that you can do, to get the word out there. Because I can tell you, all of our financial aid groups have been lobbying hard to not have this happen. Stephanie, yeah, you guys can just email me. It's just mstandridge, and I'll at spalding.edu, or if you want to send it to financial aid at Spalding and tell them that you want to meet with me, they'll just throw it in my mailbox and we can set up a time that works good for everyone, or for you and me.
Okay. And then Michelle, just so I know, will you be creating like a similar graphic, and do you want to have a similar conversation with incoming students?
Yeah, I was talking to the office this morning. I think I'm going to create one for each of the cohorts just to kind of show them where they're at and what's going on.
That's amazing.
And then the new incoming group, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll find a time to set up for that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you get the recording in your email, will you forward that to me? And then Eliza, I can send out the recording, and then folks can follow up with you or me if they have additional questions.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So they'll have access to this, and then they can reach out to me with their questions too. So
Awesome.
okay.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah,
You're the,
thank you
you're the
guys
bomb.
for jumping on. I just, it's super important. Just wanted to be in front of this.
Yep, you're the best.
All right. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.